YouTube, how we doing? PPS back. It is past the prop. It is wild card weekend, super wild card weekend. They're calling it on ESPN now. So we got a lot of extra games. We got 6 games to break down for you guys today. Super pumped to obviously break these down. There's a lot of close spreads, a couple of really bad spreads like 14 points, but hey, we'll probably get through those quickly. Joined as always by my guy Stu. How you doing, my man?
Couldn't be better. It's playoff time. I mean, we've sat here 18 straight weeks doing this show, talking about some of the absolute worst game of the season. I mean, some absolute duds on your Broncos in prime time, like 5 times this season. All that has been in preparation for this show right here. I'm so excited, man. We've got some great great plays. We've got a great guest. I'm just pumped for this one.
John, I'm gonna butcher your last name. Try to say John L. or how we want to do it.
It's all good, John Laghezza, and now we're friends for life. Yo, guys, thank you so much for having me. This is just so great for me. It really is. We've been talking about football. It's hard to get me to shut up long enough to get the show started. I am super psyched, and I have full on dove into NFL coverage right through the fantasy season. Like you said, we've done enough Broncos and Baker Mayfield. Like, let's get to the goodness. And man, we all know we have our eyes next week. That Bills and Bengals crash course. Oh man, a world to be watching. I just can't wait. This is the time of year, right?
Yeah, no. Like I said, there's some really close spreads, right? We got the Chargers, Jaguars at 2.5. You got Minnesota 3, Buccaneers 2.5, and then you go to some pretty bad ones now. We got like Miami at 14. I think Seattle's sitting at 10. Point dogs there. So it's kind of all over the place here. Unfortunately, I'm repping my Packers stuff, and I have to. You got to rep even when they disappoint you. So I'm sure I know Stu understands. John, who's your team?
Well, I'm a big Jets fan, so I know quite a bit about disappointment. Although obviously, I think they're moving in the right direction. A lot of good quality pieces, especially on defense, but it is really frustrating around here as far as the quarterback acquisition game is gone. And to now, the Panthers are still what they like with Sam Darnold. He might stay with there. Geno Smith making the Seahawks pretty happy. He might stay there. They played somewhere that I can't put my finger on, right? And it's at a certain point, it's the franchise right there. They don't identify the talent correctly, and then they don't nourish it and kind of let it flourish. Probably. So until the Jets fix that, they're going to be terrible. So whatever.
Yeah, all 3 of us dealing with that quarterback stuff. I know the Packers one. I'm going to hear the rest of that for the next 5 months. So, it's going to be an interesting offseason for us Packers fans. So, I think it'll be hopefully. I'm hoping it's Jordan Love, but hey, I have no say in it. Really? Even though I am a part owner.
We have a thing for busted down old Packer QBs also over here in New York. So, we've done that before. So I have a Brett Favre jersey. If a little thing about me, I have a closet full of ironic Jets jerseys. So I have Lev Bell, I have Mark Sanchez. I try and get them all. I collect them all the real winners out there. Hey, although as crazy as it sounds, it's actually not the worst fit, right?
I love it.
What they're looking at, what the audience is looking at right now, us 3, our separate teams all represent the very exciting Derek Carr sweepstakes.
That too.
The middle-aged gem of this free agency. Unfortunately, PPS is not going to know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers for a while. He has his flight booked to Peru to do ayahuasca in a couple months. So he needs to go through a spiritual journey before he can really make that kind of decision. So you're going to be waiting a while. Looks like me and John are going to be fighting for Derek Carr all offseason. So
yeah. Well, you have to ask those clockwork elves, right? You're going to ask those machine elves or whatever it is come out, those little gray things that pop out of the walls. You got to ask them where to go, right? How else would you know?
Yeah, I know Terrence is a Jets fan as well, so he'll probably appreciate you on here. We haven't had a Jets fan on here. I don't think we've ever had a Jets fan on here, so
we're too
Terrence probably loving it. So let's check out the chat. We got Plus Money Bob in here, Bobby Boucher, Turbo. Love to see all you guys in here. So what's going to be a little bit different today is we usually are breaking down 13-game slates, 12-game Sunday slates, right? We got 6 games across the weekend, so we're just going to go game by game, kind of break down where we're looking. I know me and Sue both have 2 bets in there. I know John's got some bets for us in there. So we're going to have a ton of action for you guys today. And we might just get right on into it. We're going to have I know we love talking this. I'm sure it can go on forever. So I want to get right on into it so we can get after it today. So first game on the slate is one of the bigger dogs on the card. It sucks for me. It sucks because I am such a diehard Geno guy. I've been a Geno guy since like week 5. I've been rooting for him. And I mean, this is just a brutal matchup here. John, when you look at this game, we got 42-point total, 9.5-point spread. Is there a side you're leaning? Is there certain players you might be looking at in this one?
Well, I generally try and avoid needing 2-score wins against functional teams, right? You're going to hear us talk about 2-score spreads. I don't think they're off the table in the playoffs, especially in the first round. Seattle is not that. They are a functional team. And I think in particular with Tyler Lockett, when he's back, they work, right? So I don't know if I'm ever looking for them to get blowout. That being said, it's going to be a really rough go against the 49ers, right? We've seen them play twice. We know the 49ers D is just awesome. I have all these formatted stats. I mean, just across the board, they're number 1 in EPA per play on defense. It's number 1 in against the rush and number 3 against the pass. So it's both sides of the ball. I mean, the defense is really awesome. I'm not sure how Seattle scores, which is why I'm not sure I could get to the over. On the Seattle side of the ball, here was the thing that I really had that I think is a big deal. So Seattle plays a ton of zone, right? They're one of the highest zone use packages in the league, and it's a really big mix of cover 3 and cover 6. What happens with that is the linebacker shifts out, so you have 3 deep. A lot of times it leaves space in the middle people. You see that reflected in the tough tight end stats, right? That's kind of the X's and O's why they've struggled against the tight end so much. So number 1, keep that in the front of my head. I think Kittle is a play right off the bat. They have gotten pressure, though they're dead last in blitz, which is pretty good, but allowing more than 11 yards per reception. Again, when there's space there, there's yak abilities. Purdy's been really, really good. Positive EPA against man, end zone, 107 PSR. I can't believe it from the youngster. It probably speaks to the system. The Seattle run D also has been really bad the last 2 months. Bottom 3 in EPA per rush, bottom 3 in rush yards per game and yards per carry, bottom 5 in yards before contact per rush. That's the leading indicator for long rushes, again, reflected in 8 20-yard rushes and 9 touchdowns in that span. So there's a lot of bad going on for a very young Seattle defense that I like. And I know it sounds like I think they're going to get killed, but I just think we're going to see a lot of running. And I think this is going to be a slow-paced game. I don't think San Fran is going to allow Purdy to make the big mistake. So I think it probably stays under. I think San Fran probably clears the spread, but it's too open for a backdoor cover for me to back. I think I'm looking at McCaffrey. That's where I want to go today, man. Last 5, he's averaging 17 attempts and 90 rush yards on the ground, 2.5 yards before contact per rush, that important stat, 4 yards of 20 runs. So, guys, give me the latter. 80 yards is at plus money. This is rush yards. 90 yards at plus 168. 100 yards at plus 250. And for people that aren't familiar with my work, when I say ladder, I don't like to. I hate when people just throw stuff, imaginary units. I bet on this stuff, okay? So if X is what we're risking, people, don't just 3 bets doesn't mean 3 risks, 3 times risk. I like to take R, let's call it 10, 100, 1,000. If it's 3 bets, I like to go 8-1-1, 80-10-10 split, or 70-15-15. The reason being,
perfect.
You want the baseline bet to be profitable if it hits, right? So even money at 70 makes 140, so that's a 40% ROI on the original bet. We'll take that all day long with the ability to clear up the ladder. So if I say ladder, that's what I mean. Guys, thank you for the floor, because not too many people are into this like smart betting like you guys are. That's what I was raving about. You guys put people in plus EV situations. We don't throw the ball. I don't blow the whistle. I don't do none of that. I can control it, right? But we can put ourselves in good positions to win. And listen, that's why people gravitate to you guys, including myself.
I appreciate. I wanted to add on too. I mean, I love CMC in this. I already bet his first half rushing yards. If you're, if you have a Prize Picks or an account like that where you have access to some of those more unique numbers right here. But I like CMC all game. I've been huge on Elijah Mitchell all season long. Shanahan clearly loves him, especially working him in more in the second half, right? Once CMC has that established workload already under his legs. But for me, one of the biggest reasons why I truly did like Elijah Mitchell all season is because you got to save CMC for time times like this, right? They want to manage his workload in the regular season. The safety gloves are off. It's playoff time. This isn't a divisional rival, right? This is a huge game right here. I don't think CMC is going to be I don't think he's ever been on a carries restriction, so to say, but they've never been putting him anywhere close to 100%. So I do think it's playoff season. Obviously, everything you said, I love the matchup right here. I think they're going to control the game on the ground. I don't think the Seahawks, they lose both trench battles, right? They're losing on the offensive side and the defensive side, unfortunately. I think the game script is going to be perfect. I'm not sure if the 49ers consistently cover. Purdy, like you said, every advanced metric looks so good. And for anyone that watched this guy in college, it's shocking, right? You're like, Where did this come from? Was it the system? Obviously, Shanahan probably has the most QB, safe system there is, right? He really kind of coddles these guys, has a great system for quarterbacks that are lacking some of these explosive plays, but Purdy's doing everything they're asking him to do. So I think they control this game. I'm not sure it ever gets to necessarily blowout, but I'm not going to really bet. Here's the one thing. I hear a lot of backdoor cover. That's what I hear all week long. I've been hearing Seattle can backdoor cover. Just when I'm thinking this through in the fourth quarter, right, down 14 points, do I trust Geno Smith to drive down the field and score on this 49ers offense? I personally don't. I think a turnover is more likely than a touchdown. So for me, I would lean the 49ers on the spread, but I do think it'll be a fairly competitive game.
Yeah, 9.5 is just such a big number. These guys have played what? They're division guys, right? They played each other twice. They know each other. And I think that's a reason why I liked it at the 10, right? They had it at the 10. Now it's getting bet down to that 9.5. It's been playing around that this whole week. So obviously we're seeing some money coming on that Seattle side. And I think that 10 number is just a little bit too high, but you can get the push there. Stu, I know you have a play in this one. Let me get you over to that one so you can talk about your prop for here.
Sounds good. I'll start with the one negative thing right out the bat. Tyler Lockett and the Seattle team is, in general, they're very good at exploiting Lockett against linebackers. They absolutely love to do that, whether it's pre-snap motion or just the way they align their wide receivers. He's been top 5 all season with guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Christian Kirk and getting those matchups against opposing linebackers and safeties. And while the linebacker isn't really the key right here, if you've watched a lot of 49ers film, the one guy, I love Hufanga. I bet on him. I've actually hit his interception prop twice so far this season on primetime. I love him. The skill set is there, but when you make huge risks, right? When you're the kind of guy that you're a ball hawk, right? You're chasing the ball, you're trying to make huge plays. There's also going to be some pretty crazy blown coverages, and we've really seen the 49ers struggle to blown coverages, especially over the middle to the slot wide receiver. I think that's where Lockett takes advantage right here. When we look back, how has he done against Seattle in their 2 games so far? He went over this number both times, 107 and then 68 passing yards, 20 combined targets in those 2 games. We obviously have a different quarterback under center after the first time, but like I said, he still hit this number in the second game. When you want to look at it all season long, Tyler Lockett has been rated number 1 in ESPN's open score, which ranks separation among other things. We don't talk about Tyler Lockett like an elite wide receiver, but the production is there year in and year out, right? He is one of 2 wide receivers to have an 1,000-yard season in 4 straight seasons. Obviously, the separation is there. And I think his route tree will really be able to take advantage of this 49ers defense, where I think he'll run a couple deep routes this game. He'll obviously get down the field a little bit, but they're going to need to get the ball out fast. When you're going against this 49ers pass rush, you're going to need to get the ball out fast. And I think him in the slot will kind of provide almost that safety blanket, because we know Seattle does not really use that tight end position. They have about 3 or 4 guys they rotate in. Noah Fant, we thought maybe he would be something after they traded for him. Will Disley, it's kind of hard. Cody Parkinson is there too. I don't think that will be a premium position right here. Additionally, oh my God, Charvarius Ward against DK Metcalf is going to be a fun matchup to watch. Charvarius Ward gave this guy absolutely 0 separation in their last matchup. He even forced an offensive pass interference where DK actually shoved him out the way because he was so frustrated. He was getting nowhere. I think that's a great matchup for Ward. I think DK Metcalf is going to struggle a little bit more. Obviously, I don't think Lockett is at 100% health right here, but he is looking healthier. I'm surprised they got him back so quickly, but it is good to see those snaps out there. And obviously, we already talked about it, the 49ers' best rush defense in football. I've used the stat all season long. They hadn't allowed a 60-yard rusher to any single running back all year. Josh Jacobs finally broke the curse at the very end of the season. Guess what? 69 rush yards. That's pretty good. Holding Josh Jacobs, I would take that, right? As a Washington fan, holding Josh Jacobs 69 rush yards is pretty good. Just an elite run defense. I don't think Kenneth Walker is going to be able to run the way, they would hope he is. I think it's going to force them into a more pass-heavy game script. I think Lockett is the clear guy. We've been targeting this 49ers team in the slot all season long, and I think this is another great week to do it.
Yeah, those slot stats really do validate everything you were saying, Stu. Going back 8 weeks, so it's not nothing against a very good defense. This is while they have really excelled, they've allowed 8.5 catches, 83 yards per game to the slot. So that, again, a lot of cover 3, which they're allowing this, right? It's not necessarily they're bad. It's a function of what it is. Like, they're allowing that. That's the one thing that they allow is a little bit underneath. And we also know Lockett does not take any contact, right? We've seen those Twitter videos. He dives. They're going to probably allow that all game. No, they're probably going to they're going to say, we're going to sit on Metcalf. We're going to let Lockett go 9 for 92 with no problem. And that'll probably be it. I love that call, man. Lockett for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked your talk about being a little more risky in that safety spot, right? That definitely looks at like Diggs, too. It's like the same thing, right? They go for picks, but they get cooked. They get absolutely cooked when they do get hit. So I do really like this spot, obviously. I loved what John said about the tight ends as well. We love to target Arizona, and we love to target Seattle tight ends against those two because obviously those guys are getting absolutely shredded by that position. And we get to head to a little better. We get to head to a little bit better game here, and that is going to be the Chargers-Jaguars. We have a 2.5-point spread. I think this will be moving, guys, because we just saw Mike Williams ruled out like literally 8 minutes ago. So that just came out. Sucks for me. I drafted Mike Williams in like 3 of my best balls that I decided to do for the playoffs. So I'm going to be sitting on a nice old goose egg there. But still, Chargers have an elite offense, right? We have Keenan Allen back. Eckler's still doing his thing. So still a pretty good offense. Jaguars are cooking right now, obviously won the division. Really no weather issues here either. I will kick it over to you, Stu. Do you want to start us off on this game? And then we'll head to John. And then I think I have a bet in this one, and so do you. So.
I mean, you said slightly better. I think this is an amazing game. I'm extremely excited to see these two teams go at each other. I think they're pretty even, too. I mean, I think these are very strong teams. I'm not sure, obviously, with how strong this division is. I'm not sure if they're capable of making those deep playoff runs, but we have two quarterbacks that are at least near the elite category. They might not be there quite yet, but they're definitely on their way there. For me, this is the hardest one. I don't know if I have a strong lean on a spread. I think the thing that stuck out to me, 47.5 definitely seemed a little bit low for a total. I'm not normally the biggest over-under guy in the world. I understand the Jaguars will take advantage of that lackluster Chargers defense, which will probably limit possessions a little bit just in the beginning of the game. But I do think explosive plays will be huge for both of these teams. We have two pretty good play designers. I'm not saying the coaching is necessarily amazing. We also see a lot of aggression from the Chargers side. This is a team that they know to win playoff games, you can't kick field goals. To beat elite offenses, you can't kick field goals, right? It's a lot easier to get a 4th and 1 on the 33-yard line than start again from the 20 on the next drive, go all the way back down. So I think there's going to be aggression. I think there's going to be plenty of 4th downs, attempts in this game. And I think the total, just 47.5, I would have probably had this maybe 49.5, maybe 50. So I think there is a little bit of value on the total, especially if you're playing teasers this week. You want to tease that down.
John, what's your thoughts? We talked about the total there. Do you have a lean on the side at all?
Man, if this one is close as can be, I don't think I could touch it. I'm really interested in watching this one. A lot of similar stories, parallel paths, and dope hairdos, right? Kind of battling it out. But it's the truth, a lot of kind of exciting, young, that next wave of maybe great quarterbacks on deck. Who's going to write the playoff story? Man, I wish I knew because Lawrence, I've always been a big Lawrence backer, but we have all those disappointments in the red zone, right? That kind of fixed itself, or it seemed to, and then he regressed a bit. Herbert is tough to get your finger on because these teams always so injured. And I feel like maybe we put his talent in front of some of the analytics where, the thing that has to jump off the page when you look at this from an offensive standpoint, at least, Chargers, number 1 in the league in pass rate, 68%. Number 1 in the league in 45 dropbacks a game, 45.5 dropbacks. That's insane. They're okay straight up abandoning a phase of the offense. Now, granted, when you have Austin Eckler, he's the type of player that can allow you to expand, right, the run game horizontally, which I think is excellent, right? That works. He actually talks about it in the Yahoo pod, which is pretty cool, but he's not really into it, which you shouldn't be because it's not great football. That being said, so right off the bat, I'm kind of thinking Chargers attempts. That was juiced up to the gills. I could not post it. But there's a chance. Obviously, Herbert throws like 50. He throws 45 on average. I think the line was 38, but it's like minus 130. Like I said, I don't like to go down that road. That might be my flaw as a prop bettor. Is maybe I should just hit that because it always goes over. The other thing that really jumps out analytically has to be the Charger run defense. This is not cherry picked at all. I do last 4, last 5, last 10, last 12, last thing, year-to-date stats. Chargers have to objectively be the worst rush defense in the league. Bottom, flat out bottom in EPA rush per snap, 0.06, allowed 5.4 yards per rush, 146 rush yards a game, more than 2 yards before contact per rush, and 18 rushing touchdowns. Those are all bottom 3 or worse. You got to give me ATN. I mean, weird. Some of the stuff I've heard that, I'm not saying it's anti-ATM, but like the arguments that kind of counter this are like hasty usage. No, I'm with Stu was talking about with the CMC package here. That was to get us here. We had a guy coming off an injured season. They already were kind of controlled their fate in the games before Tennessee. Now, listen, whatever you think of that game, it is what it is. That Tennessee front seven is very tough. I think they're going to get up off the mat and look good. They're going to feed ATN. He's been great since they lost J-Rob. So since week 7, more than 3 yards after contact per rush, 10% explosive rush rate, 4 20-yard rushes in that span, and the Chargers have allowed the most 20-yard rushes in the last 4 also. So give me the ATN ladder. 80 yards are at even money. I think we get that easy. 90 yards plus 150, 100 yards at plus 220. He has probably 4 or 5 of those games, and we can see the whole ceiling. So, right, I think we get 80, and that would be a profit for everybody. And then if we get 90 to 100, click up the little progressive scale. So I think it's ATN, but right, that doesn't necessarily mean I think the Jaguars are going to win. This one's close as could be, man. And I guess with no Williams, Palmer's props. Say that 3 times fast. Those are not Palmer's props are not posted, but if you could pick a player props, maybe hit that one also.
Yeah, no, dude, you broke that down perfectly, and I'm actually going to be betting one of those things that you actually talked about. I'll just go right into it, and I will be betting on Herbert pass attempts. That is my bet for this game. 37.5, minus 114. That's FanDuel only. It's minus 128 over on DraftKings. Minus 130 range on other books, but FanDuel is giving it to us right now at minus 114. You said it, 45 pass attempts a game. This dude is literally dropping back every single time. I love how they use Eckler in the passing game. I love it. Just looking at Pro Football Focus, we got a minus 20% run block for the Chargers, but they have a plus 12% pass block. Love that. Also love Eckler drop downs. And also, we've seen him hit it 4 straight times. The first 4 games, Keenan Allen came back off of injury. He hit it the first 4 games, crushed the over, right? He crushed over. He was getting 45s, 50s even in there. And then the last 3 games, we talk about this. Prop bettors are very, very into recency bias, right? And they just missed it 3 straight games. Herbert has missed this number in 3 straight games. They've won both. The first 2 by 17, so he didn't need to throw. And then the last game, he threw it 37 times. And then Chase Daniel came in because they didn't care if they won or not. So we were right there. He would have easily hit it last game. But since he didn't, I think we're getting a better line here because of it, right? Everybody wants to see, what have you done for me lately? He hasn't hit it lately. So I'm going to go right back to it. This is the time where we buy low. I expect them to have to throw the ball. Jaguars are 6th lowest in yards per carry right now. Only 4 yards per carry allowed. And the Chargers are very, very open, just like Tampa Bay, to saying, oh, we gave you 3 carries, Eckler. You got 3 yards. All right, you're not going to run again until the end of the second half. All right, so that's what we're going to do. And that's why I love Brady completions always. That's one of our wagon plays on the show. Herbert's one of those guys too. Both of those guys are sitting at the top of the league in attempts and completions always. And actually, I think that the Mike Williams might help in completions. I like the 25.5 completions. I think that's a great spot. I love the attempts, and I think that we could see a Keenan Allen 20 target day to day. It might be on the docket.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said right here. And I do think it's almost a little sad in terms of a play calling perspective that Justin Herbert is operating right now like a 40-year-old Tom Brady in this offense. If you look at QB average at the target, I do think a lot of that has to come down at the end of the day to Mike Williams, right? Not having your healthy wide receivers. This team is doing its best to scheme these plays close to the line of scrimmage, right? Austin Eckler is a pretty dynamic weapon in the run game, but especially in the passing game, they really like to get him in open space. They obviously obviously like to complete these short yards passes. They have a couple good tight ends as well. Obviously, Everett is there. I think Parham is injured, though, but I liked him, an XFL guy coming out for the red zone, huge guy. But I agree with you. I think this is it's an interesting matchup, but I do think Herbert will 100% be tilted towards the pass. And you said it exactly right. The Jaguars have been a pass funnel all season long. And that's with playing Derrick Henry twice this season, who just happens to destroy them in every matchup. They're pretty much, I like to say, a pass funnel every game except against Henry, So I think this is one of those. I don't think this is going to be a situation where they're just comfortable running the ball. I think the dropbacks are going to stay high. And I think it's going to correlate with a pick I'm going to be talking about in a couple of seconds.
All righty. Well, you already got to it. I don't know. I don't have a number for you on this. I know you said plus money, so I just put a plus there. We got your spot here. We'll talk about the Bengals here in a little bit, but talk to us about Eckler here.
Yeah, no, Austin Eckler, the best price you can find for his receptions is in a minus 148 kind of category, which I really don't, love as much. I understand uncorrelated money line parlays are not, the sharpest play in the world. And I definitely acknowledge that, but I'm very comfortable with the Bengals. We'll talk about that later, and some additional stake I'll have in some Bengals alt lines as well. But Austin Eckler, I think, is now, I bet this before the Mike Williams news. I think this is absolute smash spot. Now, I agree with your analysis on Joshua Palmer too. He's going to, even when Mike Williams was back, their ADOTs were very similar. Palmer was still running those downfield routes. I expect him to continue to do that. They need to stretch the field for guys like Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler to make these underneath catches right here. And I just think Eckler is set up in such a good position. We've obviously talked about this all season long, the numbers. He's hit this in every single game without Mike Williams active, but with Keenan Allen, it's clear he's the wide receiver 2 on this team, right? Joshua Palmer, for all that he's done with his opportunity, he's been extremely inefficient so far. If you look at a per target basis, I've not been a Joshua Palmer fan all season long, especially if you're looking at some of these tools like ESPN's Open Score has him very low towards the bottom. He's not getting separation, but you need that guy to run those deep routes. So I imagine I'm a little worried about Keenan Allen too. I know a lot of people are instantly flocking to him. But that 1 week, actually, we had a collab play on the show, John. I know you weren't here for that. We bet Keenan Allen the first week that he came back without Mike Williams there, that he was on a pretty much full snap share, and he got doubled at the highest rate he was seen all year long, right? Double coverage, safety help all time. I know defenses tend to want to give up that underneath pass that Keenan Allen is so good at catching. But when that's your only option, it then becomes a lot easier. I'd rather take Josh Palmer in more one-on-one situations because he's not able to generate any separation. So I think Allen's going to struggle with a little bit more safety help than we're used to. I think we're going to need to see some of these other guys step up. And I think what's one thing that's always there? It's the check down, right? We've seen it time and time again. This offense is so comfortable gaining that 4 or 5 yards. If you can't get the traditional run game going, I think a lot of the smarter head coaches in the NFL right now are leaning on that short passing game as kind of a way to get in these third and manageable situations, because that's really what a lot of these coaches are looking for right now. So I expect Austin Eckler to have 6-7 catches in this one. I like this as a ladder opportunity as well, and I think he's going to have a very good game.
Beautiful. I love it. I'm happy that we're going to one of the better games on the slate for a couple of our spots. Let's take a look in the chat here. Plus Money Bob talking about Keenan getting 20. Quinn, welcome. We also have Big Danilo talking about maybe Gerald Everett being a spot for anytime touchdown. Hopefully his odds don't just get absolutely crushed. I know I saw him at like plus 190 or something like that for an anytime touchdown earlier today. And obviously Plus Money Bob loving that plus money spot at the end of there. So we love to see it. Yeah, smash that like button, guys. We got 30 of you guys in here live right now. Hopefully we'll be able to keep growing that while we move into our second half of games. I don't even know what you guys really want to talk about in this one. I feel like this one's probably going to be like about 2 minutes.
Who wants to start here? John,
all right, listen, this one's pretty easy. It's a shame because Tua with the Dolphins I think I bet the team total over every single week. It would never move up, and we would just hit it every week, and Tua would be out, and they'd be like, oh, Miami stinks. Well, he's back, and now he's not. So, and no Bridgewater, it's pretty much a disaster. I hate, that's why I made sure to mention viable teams. They are not, Miami is not really a viable offense. I mean, Skyler's been terrible. 62 passer rating, 5 YPA, 7.5 air yards per target, negative EPA versus man, end zone. I mean, it's really, really bad. The Miami run D, I would say, has been good right? Since they brought in Chubb, that was a strong move. And that defense has been very strong the past month and beyond. 86 rush yards a game, 3.6 yards per rush, 1.13 yards before contact per rush, a single 20-yard run. Okay, now that's because, again, this is the stuff that I love to do, and that's why I love working with you guys. That's because Miami plays a ton of man defense, right? So they're going to stay up, eyes, focused front during the beginning of the play. I don't think Buffalo's going to be looking to challenge this run defense up the middle. It's not really what Buffalo does at all. They're another team. They're funny. They don't extend it through the running backs. They just will run shotgun 100% of the time.
Yep.
And it becomes Allen, Reed 1, Allen, Reed 2. The thing about man coverage, everyone, is Reed 3 is the back's turn and the quarterback takes off.
Yep.
So there's two really good plays, I think, for this one. One is, as far as man cover, I ran all the man numbers for Buffalo, which, they had Allen and Diggs all year. Diggs has at least double everything versus man coverage. Double the targets, double the yards, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So and it makes sense, when Josh Allen identifies man coverage, Reed 1 is Diggs with like 3 stars next to it. So I like Diggs, of course. Those things are always juiced up. He's kind of hard to bet on. So I like the other one I mentioned to you before the show is the Josh Allen rush yards. In competitive game, this is when you got to be careful. Yeah, he didn't run the last 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
He didn't run. Who cares? Look at Josh Allen's rush yards the last 6 weeks last year when it was competitive and in the playoffs. And when he plays man defense, the second he sees the back of a jersey, he takes off. He's a pop for long rush yards, right? It's not just like Mahomes runs smart, but it's why his props are normally 20 and not 40. But these Allen prices are a little ridiculous for what you're getting. 60 yards plus 154, check. 70 yards plus 270, yes, please. So, I'm going to be going for the Allen. His standard prop was like minus 150 when I saw it. That's why I didn't say the one. So, and if you, again, this one, people, it doesn't mean you have to bet all of R on long shots. Maybe instead of the 10, maybe you say, let's go 6 and bet 0.3 and 0.3, 30 and 30. Keep the 40% that you were looking to make in your pockets in the first place and allow yourself to make some money on this bad boy. So give me the Allen rush yards. I think that's really all there is in this game. And I think Buffalo just kills them. I might even go with one of these all spreads, like minus 20.5. I saw for plus 200. This one easily gets out of hand. 28 threes easily on deck. Easily. Buffalo defense is healthy. They look awesome. I mean, if Milano is back, they just look great. Now, Hyde, I think, is playing. Yeah, this is bad. I don't know. It's gonna be
yeah. This is just a tough game all around to break down. And one thing is maybe like 2 years ago, Xavier Howard could maybe have like a halfway decent chance to guard Steph Diggs, but he's been getting shredded in man this year. So I know the name value's there. It's like Richard Sherman at the end of his career, right? Everybody was like, "Oh, it's Richard Sherman," but it really, it's a shadow of him.
Patrick Peterson had an interception.
Oh yeah, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's
great." But yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, do you want to break it?
Well, I was going to say, I'm going to defend some of these veteran corners as we go through this show. Xavier Howard has had some actually very good games so far this season, although seeing him targeted by the Jets in coverage last week was very interesting.
You got shredded by Garrett Wilson. That man cooked that man, and they had to triple him.
Mm-hmm. So I think Xavier Howard situationally is an above average cornerback, but this will not be the time to show it, especially against Steph Diggs right here. I don't know. I think this is a blowout as well. Obviously, there's not much hope. I mean, this offense was so oriented around that short pass to making those reads over the middle of the field and some excellent play calling. Skylar Thompson just can't execute on any of that, unfortunately. I mean, if you watched that game last week, I'm sorry. I know we all did. It was not the most fun in the world. I do have one bet. It's a half unit bet on the other side. I'm going Mike Gesicki in this one, over 15.5 receiving yards. If you do a little bit of line shopping, this is on Barstool, Bet Rivers, Unibet, those kind of books. Well, it's up to 17.5, 18.5 on DraftKings and FanDuel right here. He's hit this in both of the 2 games with Skylar Thompson under center. His target share goes from 8% with Tua to 12%. That's obviously a 4% bump is pretty noticeable right here. And I mean, if you've watched any game with Tua and Gesicki, I mean, Gesicki kind of comes off as the most confusing franchise tag I've seen in a couple of years. I mean, there was seemingly, I don't know if that decision was made before the coaching hire. Maybe that's possible, but there was absolutely no, correlation right there. I don't know. I didn't see a relationship develop at all, but We see this time and time again with these young quarterbacks coming in, especially under pressure. They're going to have to hit these first reads. They're going to have to hit these more dependable guys that are running these short yardage routes. You mentioned it with the air yards per attempt being towards the bottom of the league. Gesicki is not running these downfield routes like maybe he was when he was in a more robust offensive system. He's going to be kind of that second check down, especially because they don't really have a dependable pass catcher outside of the backfield. I mean, Mostert and Jeff Wilson are solid pass catchers at best. I wouldn't say they're above average. Mostert has some speed, but that's normally,
I don't even know if he's playing. Is he? Is he playing?
No,
I think he broke his thumb. He had surgery on like Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I know he broke his thumb, and they said it was bad.
We saw
he's got
Ahmed out there.
Yeah. He has not practiced. I don't think he's going to play. He has not practiced.
Yeah. Gotcha. So I just think Gesicki kind of serves more as that safe option right here. Like I said, hit in both games with Skylar Thompson. And we've all agreed this is a clear pass-first situation. I think they might be down 14 in the first quarter in this game. They're not going to be able to establish the run at all. So I think Gesicki will kind of step up. 15.5 receiving yards is a very, very small number at minus 117. So I'm willing to play that for half a unit. I understand there's some risk. I understand that it's not very appealing to bet on the Miami side, but that's just a number that stuck out to me. I had it myself at 20.5, so I'd play it, anywhere above 17 in that range.
Beautiful, beautiful. Let's move on to a little bit better game there, and that's going to be the Minnesota game. We're about halfway through. We'll try to get you guys in that under an hour range that we usually get to. We'll get rolling here. Minnesota -3 versus the Giants. Oof. They just played, right? They played, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? Obviously a pretty good performance from both sides. 27-24 spot there. 3-point favor. We got the Vikings at home. Obviously, that's bigger news than most other teams at home. Obviously, the Vikings are stark difference home and away with Kirk Cousins there. John, I'll let you take it away, my man. What do you got? Any plays for this one? I know I have one. I believe I'm the only one with one here. But what do you got?
Yes, this one we're going to go a little contrarian from what seems like almost consensus. And I have done nothing but consume this stuff. I don't even sleep very well. I think I'm under on this one, believe it or not. Everyone is expecting the circus, and I kind of get the pieces that are there. Where it starts me is Giants are healthy, right? So Aguilar and Adoree Jackson are both practicing and back. The Giants were pretty good. That coach of the year, I think it should be him. And I'm a Jet fan, not a Giant fan. But he has done the most with the least. I was calling Brian Daboll, he's my chopped champion for the year. I mean, this guy took fermented chicken feet and turned it into something delicious, bro. I'm like eating. I can't believe it. But the Giants are on the upswing. It's a lot of running going on. Minnesota also has kind of tightened up the defense a touch, a little bit of his matchup based, but they have tightened it up a touch. The thing with the Giants that I noticed is the Giants' pass defense that had been getting smoked because they ran so much man have changed in the last month. And I think Daboll sniffed out what was going on. And the Giants have really changed their approach lately. So they're playing a lot less man, though they are blitzing a ton. Cousins, not great under pressure. Cousins, not great against the blitz. We also might see, and this is a bit of, you're guessing a bit, but we did see the Packers lay the template for shutting down Jefferson. With that, you're getting single man with safety help. And gosh, I don't know what else the Vikings have, right? And I like Dalvin Cook, but it's been really bad. He's been at the bottom of the board of every advanced metric you could find. He keeps getting the rock, but he hasn't done anything with it. If the Giants can remove Jefferson, you got him against the Packers. There's not much left there. So I end up with the way the Giants run the ball. Minnesota has still struggled against the run, right? Those numbers are actually really bad. 145 yards a game the last month, 5 yards a carry, 2.25 yards before contact per rush. We know the Giants love Barkley. We know they love to feed him. We know Jones will take off with it. So that's where I'm going under. I just think this is going to be more of a running game than people are really willing to admit. Part of that Giants change, last thing for me is, now we're seeing the Giants go from high man to leading the league in 2 high shells the past 4 weeks. And that's how you keep it in, so that they're not giving up long completions. So if you see the 2 high shell, part of that being faded towards Jefferson, this could be a slop fest. And because they're not very good. Remember, that's the thing. These teams are not very good. This was all predicated on the Giants don't stop anybody. Minnesota doesn't stop anybody. Well, guess what? The offenses are not great. So there's a chance that I have this closer, guys, to like 21-13, not like 6-3, but like 24-14, and just not really making that 48-50 total people are looking at. So I think my bet, believe it or not, is Minnesota still struggled against the slot, and I like the Richie James ladder. The numbers are low, the prices are through the roof. It's starting at 60 yards is plus 150, 70 yards is plus 225. I mean, he's gone over that a few times in the past 5 weeks or so because of the style play the Giants have. When they see the zone, Jones goes to the number first read to the slot, and they have a very efficient connection. Guy's not a world beater, but I think we're going to get a compiler ladder from James. But other than that, I'm just worried about the over. I hope I didn't deflate anybody because I easily could be wrong. This one could go 35-35. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like what you said for sure. I definitely like you kind of hyping up the Packers a little bit. I always like to hear that. It gives me a little bit better spot for my ego a little bit.
Hold on, they did a great job against him.
Yeah.
They did.
You're not in his head early.
Yeah, and they had, Jaire Alexander is a top tier player. So maybe that was part of the chemistry of you have to bracket him with like a top guy. But that framework is what I'd be looking to emulate today if I were the Giants. Is what I mean.
Yeah, no, and I like this spot. I'd be curious if this was like a neutral site, what this would be at. I think it'd be a pick 'em pretty much. Obviously, we know that Minnesota is much better at home, and I'm going to be going to a guy I picked as most improved this year. I love Daniel Jones. I like what he does. I like how he runs. I'm going to be doing passing yards plus rushing at 286.5 DraftKings. That's minus 115. I think FanDuel's the same line there. But obviously, we look at their last game. Threw for 330 on these guys. And what I really liked was they gave it up to like 3 different receivers, and they all cooked them. Like, it wasn't like one guy went off, right? It's not like Isaiah Hodgins caught a 50-yard bomb and then did nothing, right? We had Richie James 8 for 90, right, on 11 targets. Hodgins 8 for 89 and a touchdown. Darius Slayton 4 for 79, right? You can't just take away one guy, right? You look at the Vikings; they're pretty one-dimensional there on the outside. Yeah, they got all on Jefferson. I mean, we're not talking about. You can't take away
the best weapon if there isn't one. If we don't have one,
they're all the same. They're all that same way. I've hyped up Bellinger on the show before. I like what he does there as a young tight end. And if you just look at the Vikings this year, passing yards allowed this year 288. That clears this number on just what they allow in passing in these games, right? And obviously, we've seen what Daniel Jones does with his legs. I looked at his numbers this year. He's over 700 rushing yards. That is absurd. This dude is literally one of the most, like, I know everybody remembers that game where Daniel Jones rushed off that 80-yard run and then tripped off his own feet and got tackled at the 1, right? People remember that, and they're like, oh, he's not that athletic. This dude is making people miss. Obviously, it's a lot easier to run a RPO when you have Saquon Barkley going the other way, so it makes things a little bit easier. Yeah. But when you just look at this team, they're going to be able to probably rush them pretty well. I like what the Vikings have with their pass rush. That's why they gave the Packers fits in that first matchup. They could just get pressure on them. Obviously, Zadarius Smith is over there now and able to get pressure. But Daniel Jones, unlike Rodgers now, can run, and he can get out of that pocket and make stuff happen with his feet. I think that we start to see Daniel Jones kind of show out in game 1 here. And, I mean, we looked at their first one. He only had 4 carries, but he was almost 10 yards a pop, 4 for 35, right? And if it comes down to it, I would think that Dable's saying if it's not there, run. Don't even try to force it in this spot. This is too big of a game. We can't have turnovers. Get out in this pocket and let's see something happen. Let's see you make it work.
Yeah, Dable's past history as a coordinator, even in these playoff games, right? We've seen plenty of quarterback rushing. Actually, speaking of ladders, I think Daniel Jones' rushing yards could definitely be a very solid ladder in this game. I mean, I think the usage is going to be there. And this is one of those teams, a lot of teams kind of drastically shift, especially on first down, their pass rate over expectation, depending on the kind of defense they're going in. This is not really one of those teams. The Giants have been fairly steadfast in their commitment to the run all season long, really kind of depend. Obviously, they shift their game plan slightly on an opponent-to-opponent basis, but I really don't think they're going to shy away from the run game, despite the fact that Minnesota has been a pass funnel all season. I think you guys kind of went over why it's not as big as an advantage here where it normally is, right? And that kind of protects their rush defense, right? When people are always passing on this team, there's just less opportunities to run on them. I think they're going to come out very aggressive with Saquon and Daniel Jones in that rushing game. And then I like the Richie James mention as well. I think he's kind of the guy going under the radar. I think Slayton will get the tougher matchup on the outside with Peterson, who has put together a very solid veteran season. Don't get me wrong. He's not the guy he was a couple of years ago, but he has been an above average corner this year. And Slayton has been top in drop rate all season long. He's a good, deep shot. He has the A-dot. Obviously, he'll be running those downfield routes, but I think that'll really just be creating these shorter routes for a guy like Richie James, who's going to put together, a 6 or 7 for 60-yard kind of game, I think is very live right here. So if you can ladder receptions over yards, that would definitely be something I would be looking at as well. I believe he is, Daniel Jones, I believe, is last in the league among quarterbacks with 200 snaps and air yards per attempt so far this season. So he's getting that first read, what's right in front of him, not trying to, beat the world. Daboll has a clear game plan, and I think he's going to execute it here.
Did you see the pricing on the? I just looked myself. Daniel Jones, these are live lines, is out right now. 50 yards is plus 200.
Well, I like
60 yards is plus 350. You gotta get a sniff of that bad boy, because he's got what, 2 of the last 4? He went for 90 against the Colts, 70 against Washington, so 2 of the last 5, I guess, or 6. I mean, it just shouldn't be 3.5 times, right? Because of the long playability, like you mentioned. It's not going to take 4 runbacks to hit that. And that's how I like to think about these long props. Again, if we're talking in terms of R is 10, 100,000, I wouldn't put the whole thing on a plus 350. But if you're looking for a spot to put a dime, right? So if we say a dime, a tenth of a unit, a quarter is a quarter of a unit. That's a great spot for a tenth of a unit to go for plus 350 on that. Because again, no one's taking their foot off the gas. It's going to be great weather. Like a lot of things add up there. That was a really great breakdown, man. Good pick. I can't believe I missed that, but this is.
I love it. And unfortunately, we are going from big spread to short spread, big spread to short spread. I didn't want to just put all the bad ones in a row and then just get us too sour. We got to mix it up. I'm assuming this is going to be kind of like that Miami Bills one where we kind of run through it pretty quick here. It's tough. It's really tough. Obviously, Lamar is out here, 9.5-point spread. Obviously, I think Lamar's just trying to stick it to him right now, too, just because they just signed Roquan Smith, just sent him $100 million. Obviously, that money he would probably prefer in his contract there. So it is what it is. We'll see what ends up happening with them in the future here. But, I mean, what else can we really say on this Baltimore side? We've seen them when they played without Lamar, and it's not pretty. I tried to do their under team total in their last game, and they just had Tucker kicking 50-yarders. And screwed me over because I kicked 3 field goals and got a touchdown with like 10 seconds left. So in the half. So obviously that's great. But I mean, do either one of you guys have much here? I really don't have anything to go over. I will not be betting anything in this game. I mean, if you even look at the total, it's 40.5. And I'm assuming most of that is coming from the Bengals side there. So even DFS, it's hard to stack any of these guys because they're so pricey because the Bengals are rolling out T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. There's so many mouths to feed there. Tyler Boyd there too. Is there a spot for either one of you guys with this 10-point spread?
Well, I just want to start out before I kick this one over. I just want to start out and say I do really like the Bengals in this game. I took 9.5, and I took an alt line at minus 17 to really get a little bit spicy, just for a couple extra dollars right there. I'm kind of confused on this line. We've talked about competent teams, kind of all show, right? And I think this is a very competent defense, right? We know Baltimore has a good defense. There's no doubt about it. But when we look on the offensive side of the ball, your defense can really only, hang around for so long. I think the time of possession is going to be deadly in this one. I don't think Baltimore is going to be able to sustain drives. I have really absolutely no confidence in the quarterback play whatsoever, right? I mean, we are going to see Mark Andrews back, and I believe J.K. Dobbins as well. So we will be seeing some healthy starters back in there, but I really don't think they're going to be able to sustain drives. I think Bengals are going to dominate time of possession, and I think they're going to win this game, fairly easily. I think Joe Burrow will step up to the occasion. Obviously, last week we saw the Baltimore hung around. It wasn't a close game, but they hung around. But the Bengals had absolutely zero incentive to open up any kind of their playbook. They were essentially having fun out there. I think this is obviously a serious game. I think they're going to tune up for it. And I would say the one prop I would consider, just from everything I've been saying, is Joe Mixon rushing yards. Oh, I hate it. Man, Joe Mixon, talk about inefficient running backs given volume this season. They don't quit, right? Zach Taylor keeps on keeping on, but I haven't seen much production from Mixon. The line is moving up slightly, but at 50, I would understand why you would bet that, right? They're going to be up for most of the game, and they really don't even have a secondary runner that can handle that kind of volume, right? P. Ryan is a solid pass catcher, but we've seen what happens when the guy touches the ball more than 10 times on the ground. It's really not pretty. So I could see myself getting to Mixon, maybe in some DFS formats, just trying to get different from the extreme, ETN usage, but that's really all I've got. I think the Bengals take care of business here.
Yeah, ETN and Mr. CMC going to probably take up at least 50% of most lineups. I'm sure that combo is going to be just overused and trying to get to a little bit different guys and getting away from some of the chalk. Some chalk is good chalk, but obviously can't have all of it. All of our guys sitting at that 50% ownership there. John, you got anything for this one, or you want to move on to the 2.5 point spread?
Well, this one really just quick enough. The one thing that I wanted to mention was Baltimore has really been reduced down to just the run game. The thing to that is Cincinnati has gotten healthy in the trenches. That run defense has been excellent the past month. Top 3 in rush EPA per snap, 0.19, 23 rushes for 87 yards a game, sub 4 yards per rush, 1.6 yards before contact per rush, a single long run and a single touchdown. They forced 5 fumbles in the last month. I mean, this defense is playing absolutely possessed. And I actually think they were going to beat Buffalo before what happened and they got canceled. So I think Cincinnati is going to come out absolutely possessed. And where Baltimore needs to be to even compete, I don't think they're going to get it. So you're going to see stacked boxes, Cincinnati absolutely daring Baltimore to throw the ball, with which I believe they are truly incapable of it. Now, maybe Andrews walks into some accidental compilage. I don't know where I would want to go. And this is because we mentioned it before with the 49ers. Baltimore defense very much kind of mirroring San Francisco. You can get to them, or at least the thing they allow is slot receptions. Baltimore last 5 games, they've allowed 8 receptions and 73 yards per game to the slot. Again, they're just going to allow it underneath. And we know Burrow has that awesome connection to Boyd. Boyd actually is probably showing us he's not like a 2, but he's a really good slot wideout. So like when he can, and Higgins practice in full for anyone out there. So Boyd, I think, is really going to feast as far as volume goes, right? Baltimore gets pressure. I don't think plays are really going to be able to develop. So I think the read is going to be shorter. All this plays into Tyler Boyd. His ladder is pretty awesome. Check this one out. The plus 108 is 40 yards. The base is below 40. So plus 108 for 40. So we're going to profit at 40 yards. Plus 182 for 50. Plus 280 for 60 yards. The last time I bet Boyd props, he housed that first play for a touchdown, and like we were just dancing all the way. But the point of that is why you want to not say avoid single props, but really be open-minded to these ladders, because if you bet 38 yards that day, you're not getting all that love in it. Like the majority of the times, guys, I don't feel like guys barely clear it. Like they clear it or they don't clear it, So give me Boyd today. I think he really gets it. And I'm with Stu. I think there's a pathway where this is a total blowout and you could eat on that. Like I've never really done these alt spread things, but I don't feel like we have to run it back 3 times for the win by 20 points. I just don't. 28-3 again. That's like on deck. The Bengals are a 35-point team at times. If they just happen to get their wheels going, and Baltimore is disgusted, or pick sixes, right? Turnovers in the negative zone. This one could be just over so early. So yeah, it's all Bengals, and I like Higgins because I think 40 yards is like right. If they're gonna score 20 points, 40, he should get 40 yards to the slot. I'm hoping.
Yeah, and 2, when we look at pass rate over expectation in games where you're winning by 14 or more points, we obviously know the Bills and Chiefs are the gold standard. When Higgins and when Chase have been healthy, right, the Bengals have been right there with them. This is not a team that necessarily we're going to run it up the middle, right? We see this with smarter teams. Smarter teams know, let's do what got us here. Let's continue to do the things that are the reason why we're winning 17-0 rather than run up the middle a couple times, punt, and bring them back into it. I don't think that's going to be the situation here, and I agree. Boyd has been way better. This would shock a lot of people. If you look at the numbers with Boyd, with his 2 wide receivers out there versus when one of them is off, he is way better when this Bengals team is healthy, because Tyler Boyd goes from a talent level wide receiver 2 to now getting safeties, linebackers, and the occasional slot corners. So I like the Boyd call right there. The only thing that bothers me is how much pre-snap motion they get with Chase. They get Chase in the slot as well. And I do think he could kind of take up some of that area as well. But I like the Boyd call, and I like that he doesn't just run these little 5-yard slot routes that we see from a lot of guys. He's getting down the field. His ADOT actually surprised me the first time I looked at it this season.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Do we want to do Monday, or we want to do a recap here? What do we want to do here?
I'm good to go. I mean, I know John's got to get out of here in a respectable time, but I'm down to do the best we've got right here.
All right, we'll do our rapid fire. Hey,
I got extra time for you guys. Come on, I'm making 10 minutes for you.
Yeah, we got. We'll try to keep it. We usually try to be around that hour mark. We'll see if we can get it in. We got. Let's see our rapid fire 7-minute section on this game. Obviously, a lot to talk about. 2.5-point spread. Dallas favored. Dallas obviously getting healthy, but they looked like absolute dog against Washington. There was really not anything else you could say about it. They got cooked by pretty much every single part of their defense. Obviously, pick 6. I mean, Dak is just literally just forcing it to CeeDee Lamb. Maybe you just bet CeeDee Lamb because he's getting every single look there. Obviously, you can go the Dalton Schultz route, another guy who he's just been peppering with targets. Those are the 2 guys I'd be looking at. Obviously, kind of waiting to see where the market moves these lines. I have nothing specific in this game. Obviously, I'll probably be talking about it more Monday when I get to those, because these 5 games have taken over my life with just looking at them so much. But John, I'll kick it to you. We got a 2.5-point spread, and we also have a nice 45.5-point total between these 2. Get us started. Talk about them.
This doesn't happen too often because, I do a lot of this stuff. I handicap 5,500 MLB games a year. You get used to it. This one, I am in my own head, guys. I'm in my own. When I saw the board, I said, Dallas is the far superior team. This is not even close. I spent 3.5 months racking on the Bucs. The poor play calling. It's everything bad. They're not protecting Brady. He has to get the ball out too fast. The YPA is too low. And then it happened. The complete, explosion, everything that people, right, all the Regression Incorporated was talking about that forever, that it was going to happen, and it happened. But it happened right at the very end, so we don't know if we're going to get trading terms here, continuation of the breakout, or are we going to, do we have to sell this top short? And I'm stuck because the spreadsheets tell me Dallas is like a 7-point favorite here, and the narrative bet is Tom Brady in the playoffs. Well, I just bet Aaron Rodgers and Lambeau, and that didn't work. And now I'm messed up.
Don't even remind me. Don't remind me.
Dude, I generally do not. I'm the guy that says, the numbers say this. This is how I go about my process. I don't bet on that. And I did it, and it didn't work, and I feel stupid, and now I don't know what to do. So I'm kind of leaving this to the side because, yes, Dallas has looked extremely vulnerable, particularly in the secondary. It was already decided. Like, these guys are talented, man, and they're going to show up ready to go. I don't want to just write off Dallas because they struggled at the end. The same thing for Tampa. I don't want to just anoint them champions because they look great, but we know that the talent is there. This one is really tough, so I'm going with what my boy said. I'm betting on CeeDee Lamb. The one thing Dallas has gotten right, and again, Stu, you were just alluding to this, was the movement of your best player. Dallas has known CeeDee Lamb is not just like a tall outside guy. He can play in the slot. He is a ridiculously good route runner. So they move him in the slot all game. And we've seen Tampa really struggle against the slot. The slot numbers, I think they're the worst in the league last 4. In fact, they are dead last in EPA against the slot, minus 38, allowing 8.3 receptions for 105 yards per game to the slot. So Tampa is allowing that slot reception, and CeeDee Lamb is going to get force-fed, and I think this is like a playbook independent, like game script independent. If Dallas goes up, it's because Lamb got them there, and if Dallas is down, they're going to force-feed the poor guy as many targets he could stomach. So I couldn't get my finger on where I think the game goes. Again, as a Jets fan, Tom Brady has there's no heart left to break. You know what I mean? I have no feelings left. But I can't go up against him. He's the GOAT. Maybe the witchcraft is real. We'll find out today, but I think it's Lamb for sure. Like that Lamb, the ladder is also delicious. It starts at 80 even money, 90 is plus 154, 100 yards at plus 220. I mean, I just don't think we have to run this back 3 times for that. So I like the ladder, the Lamb ladder.
Yeah, no, and we've seen all this pressure on him too. And if you're going to move him into the slot, you could just see those quick passes out. We've seen Dallas's offensive line. They haven't been the same as they have been in the past, where they're the best offensive line in football. You can pass block, you pass protect, all that, and be one of the best. Now they really don't have it. We saw it last week. Washington was just getting in Dak's face on almost every drop back. So I'll kick it to you, Stu. Sorry, I just had to get that part in because obviously they get hyped up every year. Dallas's offensive line. Now they're just beat up. They're not fully healthy. So definitely think CD is the spot. I'm glad that we agree on that.
Yeah, no, and I love it. I love CD Lamb in this game. The one thing I'd say too, if you have a book that can do it, laddering receptions does seem especially appealing. I think he's going to see plenty of safety help. I mean, an amount we're not used to with CD Lamb in the regular season in this game. And I think he's going to kind of run a lot more of those underneath routes, just kind of getting the ball out a little bit quicker in this one. And the big reason for that is I talked about separation score earlier. Noah Brown and Michael Gallup are at the very bottom of the league. Michael Gallup's been last for most of the season among qualifying wide receivers. They're getting absolutely no separation downfield. There's really no threat of a downfield wide receiver, which is why I know a lot of people really aren't going to like this one. I've already bet T.Y. Hilton to score a touchdown in this game at plus 800, and I do think I will be betting on T.Y. Hilton receiving yards or longest reception when they do post that number. I think he will. I don't think his routes are going to be on the same level as Gallup. Obviously, we've seen him just kind of come in, but when he is on the field, he obviously does have a very high usage from what we've seen so far. We know he's a veteran wide receiver. The speed isn't killing anyone anymore, but his downfield route running ability is very strong. I think we're going to get a pretty small number on longest reception, something around 16, 15, and that maybe even on the high end, to be completely honest, because I haven't heard a single person mention T.Y. Hilton so far. So I do think the main plan will be getting the ball to CeeDee Lamb. I think this is a 12-plus target game for him. I'm definitely expecting big things, but I think T.Y. Hilton could surprise as a sneaky wide receiver 2 candidate. On the other side of the ball, this Dallas secondary, man, after losing Anthony earlier this season, it is bad, right? So Trayvon Diggs is probably not going to travel. He hasn't been doing that most of the season. I do not expect him to travel with Mike Evans in this game. And Dallas fans at this point are legitimately calling for Xavier Rhodes to start. Like we have no clue who's going to be covering these secondary and tertiary weapons on the other side of the ball. And I think that makes it very hard to bet on it. I was very close to publishing a Chris Godwin bet from last night on the receptions. I do think that's a good number right there, but I think there's a lot of kind of uncertainty in this game. You kind of talked about Tom Brady a little bit earlier. This guy had a 9 ADOT 3 seasons ago. It dropped to 8. It's down to 6.7 this season. With the quarterback ADOT, you want to look at yards per reception. He is 40th out of 46 qualifying quarterbacks in air yards per receptions. But hey, guess what? He ranks 3rd in accuracy in that 0 to 10 yard range, which means he's still obviously getting the ball out in these short yardage situations. I think that sets up perfectly for Chris Godwin. The biggest thing, Dallas, it's been a tale of like 2 seasons for them. The first 10 weeks of the season, they were getting an extreme amount of pressure. Since week 10, that has not been the case. They've been middle of the pack, which is very scary because the talent has been there the whole time. Parsons, this is a strong pass rush. They haven't actually been getting to the quarterback. I think that's the biggest thing you need to decide for yourself in this game. Is Dallas defense going to look how it was earlier this season, or are they going to continue to struggle to get pressure on the quarterback? I think if they continue to struggle, then I think Tampa Bay is going to win this game fairly handily, actually. I think I would be leaning towards, but if we see Minka Parsons and we see this team really look like how they were earlier, getting pressure on the quarterback constantly, then I think that's where the Buccaneers struggle a little bit more. So we've talked about, completions all season long. That's been such a great bet. Fournette out of the backfield has been so dependable. I think Chris Godwin is probably my favorite target in this one, but I don't think Diggs is going to travel. I think Mike Evans is going to get plenty of very good opportunities in this game. It's just very hard to tell from a kind of pregame perspective on who's going to get those favorable matchups. So we'll see, but I like Godwin right now.
Dallas Cowboys also dead last year to date defensive DVOA against number 2 wideouts. Because that's the injuries particularly have stunted the back end of the secondary. Number 2s have feasted, and gosh, Godwin, there's probably a dozen teams he's the number 1, right? So he has the mind meld with Brady. That's another really strong one. I had him right below right below CeeDee Lamb. I didn't want to just come and start throwing everything, but you got to love that one too. I think of anything. I think that's probably my takeaway from this one is being responsible, but IDing these certain really nice pieces and looking for the blow up games. Because in this new age of this boring NFL with all this like preventative defense stuff, when a matchup that works, it gets over. Not to exploit, they exploit it until it's overexploited, right? And I think that's why we've seen prop betting as a field has kind of suppressed, right? Because scoring is down, so touchdown scoring is down, yards are down, so props are down. But ceiling games are still there, right? So I think that's a really smart way to go at it. Is man, I'm gonna add it. We have a really nice ticket. I'm loving this one, man.
I love to see it. Hey, my boy Terrence already knows. You know I'm going back. I mean, at this point, you don't even need to ask.
42.5. Is that the line
for attempts? Yes.
That is just
I was betting
crazy.
I was betting Tom Brady completions at 27.5 from 25, and I bet him 6 straight weeks on the show, and he hit every single time.
That's not a good thing. 43 attempt as a line is not a good. That's not a good. You should not be like, we're a playoff team and we average 43 attempts again. What do you? Yeah. And the running back game, you know what? I don't know what it is. I think the line play just has not been great because
the line play, they're the worst rushing team I've ever seen.
But why is it? Why is it? Fournette looks okay. Rashad White
I just think they're too slow. Yeah, I just don't think they want to. I truly don't believe they want to.
I think that's a team that I want to actually watch the style of run play. You know, the coach that doesn't know what EPA per play is might not know about other styles of running. You don't have to gap it every single time. And maybe Tampa is kind of suffering from their own lack of creativity because that's one of the things I haven't quite been able to understand. Brady's also very good with the ball fake, right? I have 100 years on the field. That'll help. He's very good with the ball fake. Doesn't seem to work. No one's buying, right? No one's buying what they're selling. That run game is just not there.
Yeah, I mean, what is Rashad White been bottom of the league in explosive rating, per singular attempt all season? I believe he only has 4 or so explosive runs on the season, something like that. And then Fournette, obviously doing most of his damage as a pass catcher. I've been on the Lenny train all season long, especially with people kind of pushing this narrative for a while that White was taking his job. At the end of the day, with a veteran quarterback, you really can't replace that sense of dependability, right? Fournette has been that guy for him for so many years, and we know that check down is there. So I really do like Fournette as a receiving option in this game once again, because I don't think they're going to get it going on the run. The one good thing I will say about it for this game, Dallas has been good against the run this season, but especially if you look over on Amazon Next Gen Stats, it actually breaks it down pretty well where they're really good against shotgun runs in particular. That is their absolute strength. While kind of every other formation, they're middle of the pack. So I do think that obviously we're not seeing Brady kind of run these newer style shotgun handoff offenses as much. So I do think that is a little bit of a plus for Lenny right there. But overall, still a tough running matchup in general.
How about over under first down runs from Tampa? Can we go all? Can we bet the all button? Is there an all button? It's really unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. Or whatever. Maybe this is the time. Maybe this is all lead up to confuse us, right? To get to do it in the playoffs, or probably not. Because the more I think about it, the more I think realistically, Tampa's probably not very good. Dallas probably comes out possessed and is probably just a little too fast on offense. Does Tampa have an answer for a Pollard? We haven't really seen the featured Pollard because I think that's what we're going to get, right? Dallas needing it. Like I said, I'm in my head. I'm just all over the place.
There's so many variables in this game. This is a hard one, yeah. And we get to think about it for an extra day too, because that's on Monday. So
all right.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I'll be DMs this weekend for sure. I will.
Unfortunately, I gotta move it along quicker because I got to dip. Unfortunately, today a little bit earlier than usual, but we can do our quick recap here, and then we'll make sure that we can find a way to get all of our people to go find you, Mr. John. Obviously, first time on the show. Obviously, got to get a little plug in there first.
Thanks,
man. I love this. I think that's hyping. You're hyping these guys up to be a better way of capping, which is awesome. Obviously, we talk about props. That's all we do. But obviously, you have experience in other realms and just the props as well. So it's awesome to hear your perspective on those. So I'm going to send this to you, Stu. Get us that recap of your 2 spots for today.
Yep. Start out with Tyler Lockett over 60.5 receiving yards, -110. This one's on DraftKings, and it's only 61 on FanDuel as well. So it's all in the same general area. And then we went over to Austin Eckler, 4.5 catches and Bengals money line. That was plus 107, but obviously the Mike Williams news broke while we were live, so I'm not sure what that new price is going to be right there. I'd still have to assume it's probably, minus 110 in that range, which I do think it's still a good play right there.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm heading to two of the closer spreads. My man, Daniel Jones over 286.5 passing plus rushing yards, and Herbert over 37.5 pass attempts. Whew. All right, a lot of talking today. I got to get my voice. I almost died on some water about 10 minutes ago. You probably saw me coughing up a lung. This water is trying to get me out of here. So, John, where can people find you? Where can people find you? Where can they get you?
Right now, Twitter is the home base at John Laghezza, but all the MLB moving averages, NFL moving averages, it'll come up on search engines. I have a Patreon page going, but it's free. I wanted a place to streamline. I'm doing some really cool advanced stuff for baseball. I got some advanced videos coming up. The data dumps are coming, and then just everything baseball as we start preparing is going to be everything you think of. So I just wanted a spot where people could go in one spot. Patreon, you could search, little search bar, and I'm very organized, so it just and you can do all your work because some football people don't want baseball and vice versa and all that stuff. But I bring it a little differently, so you could sort it. And then, man, hopefully we're going to be running back the baseball show for Mayo Media. I've been on VSiN with Gil Alexander every week if you're into people yelling at stuff. And I got a couple athletic columns at The Athletic. We're going to be doing fantasy baseball stuff. I'm kind of everywhere. But I'm everywhere, nowhere. I guess if you can't find me, you need to take something out of your ears because it's too loud where you are. So hold on. If I had to whittle it down to two guys, it'd be McCaffrey and ATN. I think those are my favorite. But for the more kind of people that are wide betting, I think outside of McCaffrey and ATN, I like the Kittle ladder. We mentioned that before. The Allen Rush ladder, Richie James, and CeeDee Lamb. Because again, it's 3 days, so I won't see everyone again. So those are my choice spots, and I had a really great time. You have one of the better shows going on. As just because there's more content doesn't mean there's more good content. There's probably a lot more bad content, and people who think they. Oh, listen, as nice of a guy as I am, and I do like to think I'm a very nice guy. I'm kind of making up for the sins of my past. But I like to be very straight about it. Listen, I was rocking with you guys because I wanted to advance my game. Like, you guys don't only give stuff away. You're showing people how to get there. And that's really, really important. That's why I immediately gravitated towards mono, and we kind of clicked immediately, right? I felt like I've known you forever. I really only know you a couple hours, And it's been really great. Thank you guys so much. Anytime, my door's open. If you guys want to do baseball, I didn't know you were into baseball like you were. You have an open chair on my very first pod when it kicks off, guys.
Oh, I'll take you up on that, man.
No, you're in. Oh, you're in. Oh, I didn't know you were into that stuff, man. I had I had a quantum physics professor on last year to try and explain to us what the hell is going on with the way ball spin works and rising fastballs. We had a lot of really, really important stuff that actually ends up being useful for things like fantasy as we understand the ball in flight, being able now
rates and all that.
Yeah, I can grade people's fastballs, and I'll tell you what, that stuff matters. So. All right, here's a little tease for everyone.
And I'll say this is one of the shows I was looking forward to the most all year. When there's really people I think of that kind of align with what we want to do the most. I really don't think there's another person besides John on this app. I mean, that baseball show he did over on Mayo Media Network during the baseball season for free every single day was some of the best free content I've seen on this app in general, right? I mean, he's not going out here saying, I don't like the Nationals today. Their pitcher's not good. You're not getting that. And if you open up YouTube, you get more of that kind of stuff than you'd unfortunately hope. So I would. Really
Where'd that Nationals thing come from? That was odd. What a random selection.
I think it's just Patrick Corbin sitting back here in the back of your head right there.
He just gave up another home run. If you listen.
Exactly. So I really would urge anyone that's watching the show to please check out his content. It is top line. Obviously, the understanding of the game is next level in both football and baseball. So I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It was obviously great for us over here. And as for the rest of our content, if you want to ask questions, we know it's noon on a Friday. A lot of people have work. Our goal, like we said, is to make you guys smarter, better. So if you didn't get in the live chat, please drop a comment. Our DMs are all open over here. We want to answer your questions. We want to try to make you guys prepared as possible for this week. So very excited. Huge slate of basketball. Sorry, I'm thinking baseball, basketball. What are we doing? We got a huge playoff slate going right here. I'll have multiple articles out. So I'm super excited, man. And I'm very glad we could do the show.
Yeah, thank you again, John, for popping on. I hope every one of you guys, there's so 40 of you guys still in here live with us. Thank you for sticking with us for this whole time. Make sure you guys all go follow John. Hopefully you'll be over there. Obviously, some pretty good numbers here, right? So he can give you some breakdowns that we can't even talk about. He's digging in that deep end, way down in I just saw the trailer for Ant-Man. He's in that quantum realm type of spot for averages and all those numbers. So make sure
you, man. You guys are so cool, man. Appreciate it.
And we will catch you guys on Monday for the next Pass the Prop. Obviously, I'll have YouTube play of the day videos out. We'll have articles rolling. We'll have everything. We got NBA, all the stuff. Now it just gets me hyped for baseball. This one will have to come down. My Brewers flag will be here somewhere. It'll be coming up soon. We're ready for it. Ready for some fantasy baseball stuff too. So I'm hyped. Super excited. And hopefully we can sweep this slate for you guys again. And we'll see you guys Monday. Have a good one and best of luck on all your bets this weekend.